Right, this is the set patch. Welcome back, folks. Hope you had a wonderful holiday and are ready for more balance and league shenanigans in the big 2-0. Oh, because 2020. That makes sense. Kind of weird way to put it. We say hello to the big boss set this patch, as well as a huge update to Sylas, League's other resident bad boy. His changes mainly focus on encouraging his role as a mid laner, while making sure players don't lose out on that signature breezery playstyle he's known for. We'll see how well that goes. Other than that, we have some quality of life changes for Vi, Kog'Maw, Kassadin, and Jax, as well as some cautious buffs to champions that have proven to be menaces in pro play in the past. Oh lord, we're gonna blow some old champions through the window that we don't want. And finally, we're following up on our big support item changes during 9.23, tailoring them so that the users are encouraged to do more in the early game. Happy New Year! Okay, we're not looking for that shit. Further styles available on January 10th, 2020. Set and Mecha Kingdom set will be available on January 14th, 2020. Mecha Kingdom's Garen Prestige Edition, Draven, Garen, wait. Oh, so they're just going to come out the next day. That's weird. Why don't they just do them all at the same time? Mecha Kingdom's Garen Prestige Edition, Draven, Garen, Leona, and Jax will be available on January 15th, 2020. Set is, I mean, okay. Clearly, I think that set is hot. That can be established. And I probably will not play I will probably never use the Mecha Kingdom set because he doesn't have a 6-pack. It doesn't arouse me nearly as much. Freljord's Sylas is random, but looks okay, and it's probably better than normal Sylas, although I don't know why I would ever use it over Lunar Wraith. Mecha Kingdom's Jax looks sick. At least the splash art does. It's very cool. I like this skin line overall. Just in general. The Garen one's pretty cool. Prestige Garen, I understand why they did it on Garen, but I don't like Garen. Garen's lame. Leona and Draven. The Draven one looks really cool. I think that's probably one of the best Draven skins that they've come out with, to be quite honest. The Leona one's cool too. Although I feel like there's already robot Leona skins, so that seems kind of redundant. Alright, set the boss. We kind of know about set. I'm not going over set right now, because that's its own thing. It's not a different thing, although I think he's really cool, and I'm going to play him for sure. So, you can look forward to that. When does he come out? What? Does he come out right away? Usually they do it like a day after, because they hate me. Rank 2020 begins on January 10th, 4 a.m. Prepare yourself for another year of competition, salt, joyous victories, and soul-crushing losses. Basically, prepare to be miserable, doing ranked like you always have been for the last 10 years because people suck and are toxic and do not like to lose, but like way too much because it's somehow wrapped up in their own self-identity and worth. Anywho, Aphelios. Base movement speed and health decreased. That feels bad for Aphelios, dude. Infernum R AoE damage decrease on secondary targets. They nerfed it again? How much did they... 530, I guess. I just feel like Aphelios... I feel like reducing Aphelios... I feel like Aphelios is already extraordinarily vulnerable to dive champions and champions that want to get near him and destroy him. I do not like reducing... I think that's already an issue. I don't think you need to nerf that. What I think you need to nerf is I think you definitely need to nerf... his damage, because it's a lot. It's quite a bit, really. I mean, you don't have to... I wouldn't touch Severum. I wouldn't touch Gravitum. If I was going to touch things, I would touch Rifle and Flamethrower. I think Flamethrower is his best weapon by far. I think Rifle is shortly behind him, or shortly behind that, but I don't know. It feels weird to nerf his base stats like that so that he's more susceptible to... What's their logic? Infernum should be Aphelios' best ultimate option when 3 to 5 enemies are standing on top of each other, but best doesn't have to mean one-shotting a whole team. We believe we can trim some damage and still retain his position as the best against stacked enemies, so we're doing just that. I don't know. I feel like this is fair. I don't feel like that's fair at all. Because In my opinion, Set has a similar design choice to what they did with Gnar, where not only do you play around Gnar's form and where, excuse me, his anger's at, but so does the enemy. So the enemy will take the team fight when Gnar has just come out of Mega Gnar, and not take the team fight when Gnar is almost at Mega Gnar, because you know you'll be at a team fight disadvantage. This feels like if you are all stacked on top of each other, you should look to see if he has Flamethrower and not pile on to each other when he has Flamethrower. Kind of like when you know a Malphite ultimate is up. You don't pile on to each other when you know the Malphite ultimate is up, because you know you're going to all get Malphite ultimate and destroyed. And the difference between Aphelios and Gnar is that Aphelios, so let's say Gnar has his anger potential. Realistically, it's probably more than 50% because he has a lot of control over it without wasting resources. Aphelios doesn't have that same kind of control over it without wasting resources. He probably has Flamethrower 50% of the time, where I would say Gnar has it about like 60 to 70% of the time. He has access to his Mega Gnar because it's really easy to get Mega Gnar. I feel like, you know what I mean? And I feel like, you know, he sacrifices so many other things. I feel like this is just something that players aren't playing around against, and it's coming out in the balance change as Aphelios is too strong. When I would agree that Aphelios is good, but I don't think that this is... I think that Riot is putting way too much priority on how people aren't playing against Aphelios versus how people should be playing against Aphelios. He's a complicated champion, but people can figure out that, oh my god, okay, I can see he has Flamethrower, because you can always see his weapons that he has. So it's not like you're getting bamboozled or surprised by anything. You can always see his weapons. So you just don't pile when he has Flamethrower. That seems pretty simple to me. I don't know. I mean, it does do a lot of damage, but I don't know. This feels like Riot's not respecting player knowledge enough. To be fair, players don't have a lot of knowledge. They're pretty stupid sometimes, but I don't know. Feels like an over-nerf to me. Aurelion Soul. Passive stars base damage decreased. Aurelion Soul wave control and enemy burst potential in the early lane is a bit too high right now. While we're quelling some of the damage in the early game, we still want to let him reach those high peaks later. 16 to 120, 12. That's not a big difference, I don't think. What is it? 4? I don't think 4 makes that much of a difference. So that's a non important thing. Our base damage and wall duration increased. With Conqueror nerfed and the fact that he's had low presence in pro play last year, we are being cautiously optimistic and giving Azir some buffs. This is a non-important buff. The wall duration, I think, is a more big deal than that, and I think that this is where that ability should be. I think that 5 seconds is very appropriate for that ability, because I think otherwise it doesn't really do a lot. You can kind of wait it out, sort of. If you, like, soldier, hop, wall, like, you're not by his soldiers. Like, the wall is the important part, I think, in his ultimate, not the damage. I mean, the damage buff is fine. I don't care about that. But I think that the wall buff is appropriate, and I think that Azir could use some love. Wait, they nerfed Conqueror? Wait a minute. I missed the important key part in this, is that they nerfed Conqueror, and I'm very happy about that, because Conqueror is absurd right now and is on every fucking champion. It drives me nuts. We'll get there, though. Corki, R-base damage increase later. Giving Corki some power in a place that won't greatly increase his early game wave clear, but will overall strengthen his niche as an ability-based marksman. Being cautious and optimistic with these buffs, like Azir, based on his low presence. I feel like he had presence in pro play this year. I feel like I saw a couple Corki picks in the mid lane. 90, 115, 140 to 90, 125, 160. It's okay. Not a sizable buff, though, for me to care about or even talk about, really. R now works with Guinsoo's Rage. R didn't work with Guinsoo? What the hell? I mean, honestly, that'll make Jax way more annoying. But I don't play Jax, but I assumed it did that anyway. That's kind of absurd that didn't proc from Guinsoo. I guess they were worried about balance, but that's just wrong. You don't nerf a character-specific interaction like that. It also makes it unclear how interactions like that actually work in the long run. Jace. Can and Q base damage increase later. Jace is not in a good spot across the board. With Kleptomancy gone, shouldn't have gotten rid of Kleptomancy. With Kleptomancy gone, he's definitely seen better days and could use some help elsewhere. Fortunately, the lethality buffs from the end of last year is helping a bit already. That's true. He's very good with lethality. But we're also giving him back some of his more electrifying power and accentuating the bursts he's known for. Yeah, that's honestly I feel like his Q has been pretty underwhelming, unless he's really ahead. If he's really ahead, it does a lot of damage, but his Q has been not Jace Q worthy as of late. Not in the last year, I think. So I agree with this. This is a good buff. Base health and armor growth increase. I don't fucking care about that. Movement speed decrease. Our mana penalty duration now displays on icon. That's really helpful. Cassin's mana debuff duration now displays on R's border. That's really helpful. That's going to be nice. Movement speed, whatever. He lost 5. I don't care. Display buff. Kog'Maw's mana debuff duration. Okay, yeah. No, that's good. The same thing. Good change. Passive duration decrease. Movement speed now flat. For a Juggernaut, Mordekaiser is too hard to get away from and kite. That's very true. That coupled with his synergy with Rylaia's makes it difficult to escape from him. Passive, Darkness Rise. Yeah, duration 4. It matters, but not a whole lot, I don't think. Movement speed 369, 3%. Wait. Levels 1. Oh, so it's just a flat 3. Why did they put this? That's confusing. Yeah, I mean, that's fair. To be fair, though, his early game is going to be about the same. His early to mid game is going to be the same, basically. That doesn't really nerf his early, because I feel like that's most annoying in the lane. The speed buff and him, running at you like a crazy motherfucker, but that's not going to change his early game, and he'll still get ahead. The issue with Mordekaiser is that his levels, 1 to, 10 are so good, because he does so much base damage. You cannot gank him past level 6. Not really. Not without, an already predisposed advantage, but we just went over the damage. It's very good. And his trading potential is so good, along with his, shield and, heal sustain. Mordekaiser's early levels in the lane are just predominantly strong. I guess this will hurt his late game, but that's not really hurting his early game, which I think is your main concern if you want to nerf Mordekaiser, is that he is so strong until level 11 or later in the game, because later in the game he kind of can get outmatched by any other early game scaling top laners like Camille or Aurelia. I don't know, stuff like that, where it's his power spike is Rylaia's, and then Liandry's, and then no. But I don't know. Mordekaiser needs a little bit of nerfs, but I can see them not wanting to murder him just because he's such a cool character. And I think that you can play around him better than people do. I think his Q is much more dodgeable. I think his E is a lot more dodgeable than a lot of lower elo players think. So I can see them not nerfing those things. People are like, but he does too much damage. Yeah, well, don't get hit by his Q. Hide in your minions, or I don't know, pick a mobility character. It's not my problem. E now also empowers the target's abilities. That's a good... I like that. It seems broken. Well, I don't know. It makes Nami a different character, because the thing with Nami is that Nami used to be good with very synergistic characters like that. Things like Ashe that could stick on them and proc all 3. Caitlyn, who could do it from a distance without having to really face any penalties. Lucian, who could proc 2 at once with ability. This actually makes the Nami Lucian way better, because you get Q, auto attack. That's all 3 Tidecaller's blessings. That's really good. I feel like it makes it less important, though, on other characters. It's still good with Lucian, because Lucian's the AD carry that I would usually play with Nami. But I feel like it makes other characters not care quite as much. Maybe Ezreal might like it, but Kai'Sa doesn't care. about this change. I like it though. It's interesting, and it makes Nami stronger because Nami hasn't been particularly strong as of late. That's because a lot of her crowd control is unreliable, in the sense that Bubble is easily dodged, and Wave is slow. So empowers the next 3 basic attacks and abilities. AoE spells empowered by Tide Cloud's Blessing deal 33 to 60% damage. Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Oh, to non-champions. Oh, hell yeah. So you can still do AoE abilities and... Like, you throw a Zokyu into with a Tide Collars, I'm thinking, or like a... What's another AoE? I don't know. I think that's good, though. I don't like it when they always nerf the AoE abilities, because that makes it so that, like, that's a synergistic capitalization and a choice that you can make. Base health growth increased, frost armor resistance ratio increased, E-base damage increased. These are all good things, because Sejuani's not that strong, I don't think. We're happy with Sejuani's identity as a scaling tank, so we're doubling down on it, and yeah, exactly. I agree with this. This is a good identity call, and, you know, being like, look, this is what we want, this is what she does, this is what we want her to do, we want her to keep doing it, but we want to expand and accentuate that strength. Because sometimes champion-themed strengths don't really come through. They're there, but they're not extreme enough for you to really care about them, and then they don't matter enough for you to not pick them over somebody else. You know what I mean? Okay, so that doesn't really change her clear that much, but it does change the late game, doing the 40 extra damage. 10 plus 0.5 bonus armor. Bonus armor. Good job, Riot. And 10 plus 0.5 magic resistance. Yeah, that's good. Gains resistances when slaying Elder Dragon. Thank you. Holy shit, how has this not been done yet? Ugh. I just could not believe that this didn't... Because her scaling then becomes nothing. Her passive is that she scales when you kill dragons. But once you kill... So let's say you go 50-50 on dragons, which hypothetically you wouldn't want to do as playing as Shyvana, because you would higher prioritize the dragons because they give you scaling. But let's say that you go 50-50. You got like 10-15 armor and magic resist. That's lame. That doesn't do shit. Especially because I feel like there's so many more elemental drakes now. This is a good change. And makes Shyvana's scaling resistance is a lot better. It makes her a better, especially AD scaler, because, dude, fuck AP Shyvana. Gauges when Fury gains increase in lieu of ultimate CDR when slaying Cloud Drakes. That's good, too. E mark targets, damage ratio, and monster damage cap increased. Thank you. Shyvana buffs that don't affect AP Shyvana being stupid. Dragon Slayer. Shyvana 5 per bonus every elemental drake and Elder Dragon. Cloud Drake damage increases Shyvana's fury gains by 10, 20, 30, 40% based on her ult, because her ultimate does not have a cooldown. That's good. I like that. That is a quality of life thing. Especially as Shyvana, who incentivizes getting drakes. If you get Wind Drake, you're like, ah, well, shit. That doesn't help me at all. Alright, what's going on with Sylas? I need to see this. Because I have no... I heard a little bit about what they're doing to Sylas, but I have no idea. Okay. Less base stats early, more later. Passive now gives attack speed. W cooldown increased. E AP ratio increased. W, E1, and R basic attack reset removed. That I don't like. I like the attack reset. It feels very cool on Sylas as this crazy chain, flingy, slinging dude. Feels very cool. Sylas has been difficult to stabilize for all brackets players and has an extremely long record of changes since his release. Due to that, we promised that we do some bigger rework on him outside of number tweaks that would help bring the gap between all levels of Sylas players closer. First, we're changing his early lane to be more in line with someone like Echo and Fizz, champions who have less control in the early laning phase but get stronger with levels. Secondly, we're balancing him as a mid laner and prioritizing changes that encourage him to be there instead of other lanes. And finally, by removing his EQ combo and slowing down his basic attack pattern, we're making a good faith effort to retain his auto-weaving bruiser playstyle while also making measures against the speed in which he bursts down his enemies. That I don't like. I think that the chain slinging is actually one of the cooler parts of his kit. But, moving on. They nerfed his base health though, so that's kind of nice. I can agree with that. I can get behind that because I do think that he is a little bit oppressive. Health growth is good because I think he should be one of the tankier mages. That's kind of fits into his identity a little bit. Less armor, that's fine. Armor growth, that's fine too. This is not really a huge deal. There's a lot of magic resistance nerf, but I guess he has more growth, and the there's actually not that much growth at all. He has terrible growth on that, but he does have a spell shield, so maybe, I guess, I don't know. Passive, Petrocite Burst. Primary target damage ratio 1.1 is okay, so that's a little bit better. Radius. Oh, they nerfed the radius. That's annoying. I don't like that. Fast chains. Now grant silence 60% attack speed when available. So we got rid of the reset, but they increased the attack speed. I still don't like that. I think his chain slinging is a lot cooler a concept than him having more attack speed. Petrocite Burst. Oh, 3 stacks. See, there's ups and downs to this that I do and don't like. Minion execute. Now execute secondary target minions below 25 health. That's pretty cool. Wait, 25 health. That's not a lot. I don't care about that. Basically at all. It should do that anyway. Chain Lash. So they made this longer at all levels. They just upped it a second. 100, 145. Wow, they nerfed the hell out of that. Wow, they buffed the hell out of that, though. Holy shit. Detonation slow. No longer slows enemies hit for 2 seconds. That's kind of annoying. Can no longer be cast during E abduct. That's fair. No longer resets his basic attack. See, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. That feels bad. That makes him less flowy. And I think that part of him that is cool is that he flows. Although I'll get into Silas's character dichotomy issues in a second. Cooldown is lower. That's good. Mercy no longer deals 50% damage to targets below 40% health. It did that? That's stupid. Increased heal. For 75% more, size below 40% heals more based on Silas's health, up to 100% more at 40% health. Wait a minute. Silas's health, up to 100% more at 40% health. 70% more. Size below 40% heals more based on Silas's health, up to 100% more at 40% health. Oh, so they made it scale. So at 40, so basically the minimum will be when he's at full health, and the maximum you can heal is when he's down to 40%. So 40% and below, he still gets the full amount of the healing, but it scales a little bit before that, which is nice. I think that's a decent change. Cost 40. They made it cost way more. Ugh, I don't like that. Yeah, no, E2 damage. 30.2. God, that is so much more damage. See, I don't like this. I don't think this is good for Silas at all. Cooldown 14, 13, 12, 11, 10 from 14 seconds flat, so that's a little bit better. Lockout. Seconds when moving after abduct. Oh, so you can use it a little bit faster. A lot faster, actually. That's cool. I like that. Now, wait. Yes. So, and then this no longer. So this is my issue with Silas as a character design. So when they designed Silas, they gave him a supplementary. They gave him tools that allowed him to fight without his ultimate. Because this was Silas. This is what Silas was meant to accomplish. Silas was meant to accomplish the fantasy of stealing people's ultimates. That was the point. That is why he was created, basically. That is what they put onto him. That was his identity, is he was the magic stealing crazy man. And he did it all the time. And that's why the cooldown when he first came out was so drastically low. However, they found that he was too strong with his base kit and his ult cooldown. So what they did is they lowered the ult cooldown. Then what they realized is that his base kit was too so then it didn't really solve the problem though. So they nerfed his base kit because he was flexing into too many different positions. He could jungle, he could mid, he could top, and it was all fine. They also got rid of his base shield, which lowered his safety. But now he doesn't really do anything well. He doesn't steal ultimates very fast. His kit doesn't do that much damage. He's kind of just weak. He doesn't have any like defensive options because you only have a purple spell shield, which doesn't block most AD character matchups. The spell shield is thematic though, so that's something. What they're doing now is they're basically increasing all of his ability damages so that he plays more like a mage. So he'll play more like a mage, but that was never his identity in the first place. What I thought his two strong identities were when with his character design was A, you fling chains around with the auto attack thing, which is really cool, and I liked when they gave him a second stack of it. I like that they're giving him a third stack of it, to be quite honest, because the 2 was like an awkward number with the amount of ability casts you could do. And the other part of him that was cool was that he stole people's ultimates and could use multiples of them in a fight. And his kit wasn't that impactful, but his ultimate stealing was. Those were the two things that made Silas and made Silas different from other characters. What they've done now, and what I think is something that they shouldn't have done, is I don't think they should have rebuffed his base kit. I think they should have buffed his ultimate cooldown, because that is what makes him cool. That is what makes him different from other melee mages. Like, they're comparing him now to who? Fizz and... who's the other one that they listed? Echo. But, like, Fizz and Echo right now are just, they're melee mages who kind of have a melee range, so they kind of have a hard time in the early game, and then their abilities do a lot of damage and they can burst people. They have little quirks, like Echo has his time refraction back in time thing, and Fizz has a lot of safety with his Playful Trickster. But ultimately they do the same thing. Silas was cool because he stole people's ultimates at a pretty frequent rate and then could use them strategically. But he doesn't do that anymore either, because he basically only gets one per fight, because at maximum your cooldown is 30 to 45 seconds or something like that. So what I think this is I think that this is a good character. So this is a better character. He's a better, more balanced character, and I think he will be easier to play. But I think you could have done this on another character. I think you could have made a character that has another kit like this. But this does not feel like Silas. This does not feel like Silas themed. This does not feel like what Silas wants to do or what his identity has been since his release. This feels like an identity crisis that Riot does not know how to balance or deal with. And that is my take on Silas' identity. We will now move on. Cute cooldown and Blight cooldown refund decreased. Varus' role as a poke marksman has been quite weak since his last set of major changes in 2018. That is true. I miss Varus. For an ability-based marksman, that playstyle should be one of, if not his strongest, so we're specifically focusing on strengthening it. Piercing Arrow cooldown, 2018 to 12, so they're doing that. Blight cooldown refund. Okay, I like that. Varus' Q is kind of part of his identity, and I think that... Hi, Goober. I think that that needed to be buffed a little bit, because Varus is in a bad spot. Varus right now is very, like, Rage Blade, Runon's auto-attacky, which is good, and I think that that's important. Bye-bye, Goober. But I think that his Piercing Arrow needed to be touched on, for sure. And that needed to happen. Are now unstoppable for its whole duration. Vi remains unstoppable for okay. Giving Vi a quality of life change to her ultimate, making it more consistently against knockups and knockbacks, and letting her stick to her target through the ability. Yeah, that's good. That needed to be done, because it was kind of wonky with how it would work and stuff. Like, I don't know. Empowered E slow decreased. Sure. Because I never had a reason to spawn multiple Vine Lashers, since having one was the same as having two. But now that we made the Lashers slow stackable, Zyra can place your actions around the plants. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Whatever. Support items. Let's see what they're doing to these. Following up on our big support item changes during 9.23, tailoring them so that their users are encouraged to do more in the early game in exchange for some combat stats. Tanky champions will be slightly more resilient, and ability casting champions will have more mana for abilities. That's good overall. Oh, they added base health regen? That is great. That is very much needed. Yeah, this is good. They lowered the attack stats, but I always thought that these items were not statted. It felt like once you got to this final form, there wasn't a huge reason to have it around. Like, it felt like, I mean, sure, but they weren't very statted. If you picked the AD one, you didn't get a lot of AD, not a sizable amount. Like, what, 24? That's not a lot. That's nothing for having invested in this item and built it the entire game. The health regen, though, is very good. I'd say that with the ability power, like 40, I think 40 ability power is a little bit better than 24 AD, but it's still not very good. Yeah, and the mana regen on these is... The mana regen on these is very good as well. They needed it, to be honest, because a lot of the support items felt the same, I guess. Health, ability, power, yeah. I think that this item, the sickle, is in a weird spot. But alright, runes. Conquer now shows the total healing in its tooltip. Gain the tooltip, including when hovering over the rune on the scoreboard. Yeah, that makes sense. Prototype Omnistone. Cooldown decreased. Omnistone continues to significantly underperform so because it's bad. Because you created a bad rune that nobody would take. 9 to 7 for range. So here's the issue. Here's the issue with Prototype Omnistone. Almost every character in the game has an ideal rune. Garen has Conqueror. Lucian has Press the Attack. Caitlyn has Fleet Footwork. Usually mid laners even and top laners have something that they want. I think this would be most ideal in the top lane, but I mean the thing is that the fact of the matter is that characters have runes that they would want basically 90% of the time. So they're going to pick that rune. And they're going to pick runes that synergize with that rune from that respective tree. Omnistone is bad in both the sense that it's in the inspiration tree, which is good, but doesn't really do what a lot of characters are going to want from. Usually you want inspiration as the secondary tree because it gives you you really only want one or two of the weird things that it offers because you don't really need all three. You don't want anything from all three. You really just want to pick a stopwatch or some boots or dematerializers or some biscuits, or you want the potion or whatever the other one is in that tree that's really good. But you really only ever really need to because the rest of them aren't really that impactful, especially if you're trying to deal any amount of damage at all. Prototype Omnistone is problematic in the sense that nobody wants runes other than the one that is ideal for their champion. So you will never pick it. Unless you're an idiot. There might be very small... Some characters don't have ideal runes that they want to take, but usually whatever meta rune is the good one is the good one. So characters would take Dark Harvest when Dark Harvest was good. Characters will take Conqueror now because Conqueror is good. But Omnistone has never had a place. Riot guises it as, oh, it's good for introducing you to all the different... No, fuck that. Nobody cares. That's not a game design thing that you're going to do in a game that requires constant balance. You basically made a dead rune. You can reduce the cooldown of it all you like, but the fact of the matter is that 90% of the time you're getting runes that you do not want, that are not ideal for your character, when you would rather have an Electrocute or a Press the Attack all the time. That's the issue. It is both not good, because you would want a predictable rune that you know is going to be useful, and it's in the inspiration tree, which you'd rather probably have 3 objects from one of the other trees. Bug fixes, don't care. Unless any of these have to do with the stupid stopwatch thing. And then these skins... Do I want any of it? There's Freljord Silas. I don't understand why there are Freljord Silas. You basically pick any of these and it's no longer Freljord. The Freljord is that it's blue and icy. That's because that's the Freljord identity, color, aesthetic. Mecha Kingdom set. That one's pretty sick. That one's pretty sick. This is a pretty sick skin, I will admit. I don't think I'll play it over Hot Silas, but that's predictable. I got about those. That does it for the patch notes. Honestly, who cares? Fine. These are good changes to support items. Don't care about the Zyra. The Vi is a good quality of life. Varus is good. This is a fucking mess. Good things for Shyvana. Good things for Sejuani. Good Nami change. The Mordekaiser change is fine, but I don't think it nerfs the parts of his kit that are important, to be honest. Especially when you rush Rallia's. Fine, good quality life, good quality life. I don't care about Callista. Jace Q needed some love. I can't believe this didn't proc before. This freaking Dwinsos, that's nutty. Good for Corki, good for Azir, good for Asol. Kind of missing the point, I think, on this whole Aphelios thing. Set is hot, good skins, good patch overall, actually. I'm excited for the new season. I'm excited to be doing ranked from the start, too, and trying to actually climb my way through the year instead of doing it all at the end and just trying to settle for